There's a place outside Los Angeles that you may have heard of, and almost certainly seen before. Vasquez Rocks blends film history, the Wild West, and geological wonder in a park that's less than 45 minutes outside downtown Los Angeles. As soon as you enter the area, you'll notice the almost wave-like rocks all uniformly angled together. You really can't help but turn your head as you walk around. Like a frozen ripple, these scars from tectonic plates crashing together are one of the most visible examples of the San Andreas Fault in action. The bizarre rock formations attract hikers, amateur explorers, horseback riders, and even the occasional cosplayer from all around the area. Unfortunately for me, I happened to come on one of the few days it decided to rain in Southern California. And while it is normally a pretty big inconvenience, being able to witness this in the desert is actually pretty extraordinary. So as you can probably tell by now, the rain has certainly come and go today. And look, now we're seeing a little bit more sun. So more than any other place in California, I've been hiking here the most. And part of the reason is because it's so close to Los Angeles. Another reason is we've got these beautiful rock formations behind. Now, I can almost promise you've seen these rock formations before. If you've ever watched an episode of Star Trek, if you've ever watched Westworld, if you've seen Hail Caesar, Blazing Saddles, The Flintstones, almost any movie that either takes place on Mars or the West has had these rocks in it at some point. And they're an incredible playground too if you're brave enough to go climb some of them. Which leads to my next point. If you live in Los Angeles and you've never been here, let alone never heard of these, you gotta get yourself out here. This is an incredible place. Despite being just under 1,000 acres, the trails here are kind of limited. The good news is that most city dwellers hardly venture past the rocks themselves, so if you take an extra 20 minutes to follow a trail, you'll be treated with hidden vistas, isolated rocky outcrops, and serene desert wilderness. One of the reasons the rocks are like this is we're actually right now in the San Andreas Fault, and this is a byproduct of the North American plate and the Pacific plate overlapping each other, which is why you get these rock formations in such an interesting, beautiful angle. You know, I've done this hike multiple times, but I just got a tip that there is a place I have not been to. Apparently in there, and while I don't condone vandalism, there is this place that's spray painted and dubbed Satan's Den. And I've been told I need to check it out. I'm gonna go explore it today, if I can find it. Now, the park doesn't advertise it for obvious reasons, but I do have some GPS locations, and I'm gonna see if I can't poke around and try and find it. So the trail I'm actually on today is part of the Pacific Crest Trail. And if you don't know what the Pacific Crest Trail, it's this trail that goes from Mexico to Canada over the course of, I'd say, over 2,000 miles. And this is part of the trail you hit right after going through Los Angeles before visiting the town of Agua Dulce. There are some mountains called the Sierra Pelonas that PCTers have to go over before they start hiking through the Mojave again. But this trail is pretty simple. It's about 2.5 miles, maybe 3 miles. And there's a surprise at the end, which is pretty interesting. Now the problem is you do have to double back, so there is no loop, but it's just a beautiful hike, and hopefully the rain doesn't continue. but this really is the definition of scattered showers. The trail itself does a fantastic job of showcasing desert flora, like this beaver tail cactus and Mormon tea. Just make sure you know where you're going and that you keep to the trail. The rocks here are deceptively large and it's easy to take a misstep, wrong turn, or in the summertime, you might come across some venomous slithering friends on the ground. Luckily, it was too cold this time of year, and I could maneuver safely around boulders without worrying.
Now, one of the plants I do want to call out here is Yerba Santa, and this little plant in the summertime has an incredible fragrance. And the reason it's called Yerba Santa, which means sacred herb in Spanish, is when you burn it, it's supposed to help with your sinuses and alleviate some pain. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I read online.
Fortunately for me, the rain had deepened the color of much of the rocks and plant life around me, something that only lasts a few days to maybe a week in the desert, depending on the year. Once you descend into the lower regions, you can't help but admire the modest but still towering rock formations around you. The geology of the area is stunning as rocks have conglomerated, sedimented, and subsequently eroded away, leaving holes and gashes along the way. At this point, only a mere mile or so away from the parking lot, I had the trail practically to myself. Ravens swooped and nested nearby as I felt like I was marching through some ancient temple.
So one of the interesting things about this place is how it got its name. Now, it got its name from the bandit named Vasquez. Now, what he would do is he had a group of outlaws. Now, he himself actually hid out in these rocks trying to evade the law. And he was eventually captured and hanged. But one of the urban legends around here is that he actually hid treasure in one of these rocks. And it's really easy to see, first off, how he was able to hide. Second, how he was able to hide treasure. Just one of those other interesting things about this place.
History, hyperbole, or hoaxes. Sometimes at the end of the day, the best thing to have is a good story. And while historically this place is significant, a little embellishment is kind of like a bit of seasoning when you're sharing your story. For instance, I could tell you that I only hiked 2 miles to get here and that nothing exceptional happened along the way. Or I could tell you about the time I came across this forgotten tunnel that stretched so long you could see only a small dot of light from the other side. Now, this is only half true, but if you really think about it, when it comes to other people, you're really only as good of a hiker as you are a storyteller.
So this tunnel is actually part of the Pacific Crest Trail. And you go underneath Highway 14. If you're coming from this way, this means you're just getting out of the mountains, and this is your first time you get to Agua Dulce, which is where I'm coming from. But hello, hello, hello. Oh, it's raining on this side. I don't want that. I think I'll go back. So right now I'm looking for Satan's Den. All I know is it's in this general area right now. Don't know exactly a location, but we'll see if I can find it. Well, according to the map, this is the general area, so now I guess I just have to look. Let's see if we can find anything. So I saw this earlier, and I thought it might be here, but this isn't what I think it is. There's some vandalism, but not everything I was told or expected. This is a little bit more over there. Probably could check that out. Almost looks like it goes back. Ooh, that might be it. It smells a lot like human urine, so that's great. Let me check inside, I guess. Oh, that's creepy. Ooh, I don't like this. Yeah, I don't like this one bit. There's eyes, skulls, triangles, tons of skulls. And, ooh, it reeks. There's glass bottles everywhere. Just not great. That reeks. I don't know how I feel about that. I absolutely don't condone vandalism by any means. On the other hand, I feel like no, I'm just not gonna even condone it. I don't like that. I'll just say that.
I think there's an opportunity here to talk about vandalism versus artwork, destruction or modifications, but I'm not going to. I'm sure fellow hipsters will talk about how cool that cave is, or any other number of arguments. But at the end of the day, you gotta draw a line, and that line is leave no trace and just let it be. Because after all, you can't improve on anything here. This place is good enough already.
He rode a blazing saddle. He rode shining. Oh, that's fun. He conquered fear and he conquered hate. He turned our night into day.